Hello, Terry here, and we are back with Secrets Untold. So now we are escaping the castle because there are some weird assassin is trying to take the amulet from us, which I'm not sure if that should be called an assassin because an assassin's job is to kill people, not to take an amulet. But whatever, probably a hired person. That would be better. Either way, let us continue, shall we? His lack of emotion upset me more than I like to admit. He had been nothing but demanding the entire time I had talked to Balder. My world was crumbling, and his didn't look affected by it at all. Oh, you're a Methodist Red Ninja? Okay.
We should introduce ourselves properly.
Okay.
My name is Kieran, and this is my partner Maddox. We are members of the organization Shadow.
Shadow, that's cool. Stab. Stab, stab. He had his arm crossed over his chest. He tapped his foot onto the stone pavement that was barely illuminated by a single torch that sat upon the castle gates. He matched the name of the organization almost fittingly with his all-black outfit and emotionless face. I know not much of who they were aside from the rumors I had heard around Vestis. If I remembered correctly, the king was not a fan of the group because, as he claimed, they brought more trouble than they tried to stop. They were mercenaries, bounty hunters, assassins, all fighting in the name of wasteful idealism that would tank this great nation. If you ask me, Vestas would be a better place if the nobility didn't convince everyone that people were defined by their family name, income, and influential contacts. Tradition was what would tank this great nation if one could make the argument that Vestis was ever great. Even I knew that Vestis' history was bathed in blood. The king usually had no qualms with enforcing a Calvary for a minor issue. Calvary, what does that mean?
Yeah?
Yeah. There wasn't much more I could think to say to the man whose eyes never seemed to leave my own. Great, I know who he was, who he and his partner were. That still did little to change our situation.
We are highly trained fighters who are hired for the jobs that regular
Okay.
militias don't want or can't take on. We also fight for those who nobody else is willing to fight for.
Alright, that sounds interesting, but why? Higher payment or what?
In your case, I can't tell if we're taking on an icky job or being the knights your so-called lover boy couldn't be.
Oh. Why are you mocking her? He bowed down in front of me like Maddox had done earlier, except Maddox had done so out of respect. I could see the fire in Kieran's eye as he scolded me. I wasn't who he had wanted to be stuck with either, and that was fine by me. I wasn't going to stay with him and his little girlfriend long enough for his feeling to matter to me. All of this was just a means for me to lift my shackles as a servant of King Rory. If I found out more about the amulet on the way out, that would be magnificent. But it wasn't my goal. I just needed to live, heroic journey or not.
My lady, your chariot to the exiled kingdom of TC awaits.
Okay.
Do not worry. This knight is prepared to die for the very noble cause of true love between a prince and his princess.
Why are you being so sarcastic? How freaking romantic. I lowered my eyes at his sorry attempt at whatever the hell it was he wanted to accomplish and let my frustration loose.
This is all just a huge game to you.
Kinda. How dare this man joke about something so serious to me? Had he not realized that my entire life had been defined by my love for Balder? My dream to be the wife he had promised me I could be is what kept the fire in my heart burning. There were days I wanted to give up completely, but his word kept me in a place of serenity. Making light of that was in poor taste. Surely he had never suffered from losing what he had thought was the only way to truly be happy.
Kieran, you're being really rude.
Thank you, Maddox. Yeah, we needed that. Maddox didn't agree with his man action, but it was already too late. I had made up my mind to hate Kieran forever. Bruh.
I'm just saying.
Uh-huh.
always get stuck with the shitty jobs. Last week it was literally food delivery, and now
Okay.
escorting some servant girl all the way to TC
Food delivery.
because the stuck-up prince doesn't have the damn courage to tell her he wants her gone.
Are you serious right
Oh.
now?
Oh, poor Callista. His complete and total disregard for me as a person standing literally in front of him was enough for me to make up my mind. He didn't want me here and I didn't want to be here. I was a simple menial job for him. I didn't know my way around aside from the town plaza and the battle forest right behind the castle. So I waited until we had reached a different, more lively area in the brightness of day to make my move away from the pair. The man pointed to his head, slamming his index finger into the side of it several times to get his point across.
Use your brain. You must be a smart girl. People don't return from TC.
Okay. I wasn't exactly expecting a golden chariot ride back to the castle once this was all over, but I wasn't going to stay in a land where everyone was an unreasonable criminal either. I was going to be a new Callista. I would be a fierce fighter not held back by anyone or anything. Why? After all, I really didn't have anything to lose anymore. So to gain something better, I have to be patient and see where this road will take me.
Enough.
Yep.
No more arguing.
Kieran recoiled like a child being scolded for putting their hands into the cake batter before it was mixed properly. I stuck my tongue out at him. Good, serve him right. He turned his attention away from me and looked at the dimly lit path ahead as if I hadn't even looked at him at all. Once we step away from the castle, everything would be plunged into darkness. Fitting, I suppose. A journey away from Festus will not be on a beautiful boat with the wind in my hair, but at the backs of two strange individuals who seem more interested in their payment from Balder than me. Okay. Whoa, spooky. I crossed my arms over my chest and ignored my two new traveling companions as we made our way farther into the forest and away from the castle. The tension that the silence created made room for negative feelings in my heart to manifest. I thought about Loretta. Oh, Loretta. It was hard not to imagine her shrill voice yelling at me to do something at a quicker pace, or her laugh as she made a joke only she would really find funny. It couldn't be that her incredibly hardworking and determined soul was gone from this world. Gone too, because she tried to protect me from a person who had wanted the rumored power an amulet possessed. It was a necklace. Nothing it did could really warrant killing another person. Why now of all times? Why not when I was a younger and an easier target? Why hadn't the assassin gone directly to my room and left Loretta alone? She shouldn't have even been up at the time if not for overworking herself to get ready for Baldur's big coronation ceremony. Well, because the assassin doesn't know your room? That's why the assassin walks around? Loretta should have been sound asleep in the room next to mine. It was hard to make out either Kieran or Maddox's feature as they walked side by side. I could see their silhouettes, but their expression were almost unreadable. They witnessed the same death that I had. Were they not shaken even the least bit?
Kieran brought up some good points, but every right to be upset about everything that's happened.
What good points? He's a freaking hole in the bomb. She spoke as if she was trying to remedy the situation, but I was already done with the entirety of this conversation. I looked ahead and kept walking, completely ignoring the girl's probably well-intentioned words. Kieran grabbed hold of my arm to stop me from walking and pulled me gently toward his side. I was kind of glad that I couldn't see the expression on his face because he was probably really angry. Why?
She's on your side. Maybe you should stop acting like such a brat and let us help you.
But you're acting like a hole. She's on your side. Okay.
Oh, now you're worried about that?
Now you're worried. He didn't want to help me, he wanted to help his pockets. Maybe, but definitely not me.
You know what? You're right. I don't care about helping you at all.
What?
I'll get what I came here for and be done with it.
We just met for a few hours. Can you do a little bit of, fan service or something like that? Not fan service, customer service? Please?
Then this conversation is over.
A little bit, before you being so toxic like this. The three of us remained silent in silence for the entirety of our journey through the night. As long as we had established what we already knew, I was part of a job to be completed, then we could coexist in some space. Morning! The sun shone brightly in the sky as if the events of the night before hadn't happened at all. Of course, life had to move on. It's just one day. Not even one day. The world didn't stop spinning simply because one person was having a rough time. Someone who was like your mother died. If that was the case, the world would have ceased to exist for a long time ago. Yeah, you're talking about continuity, isn't it? Life is always the same and blah blah blah. But there's something called the illusion of continuity. Life isn't the same as it always been. We think our life as humanity is continuous, but when you realize we are only a part of this, we are only a tiny, itsy bitsy part from this whole world history. I mean, dinosaurs, they live very, very, very longer than us in the whole history, and they have their own continuity, but that's all an illusion when a meteor comes and destroys it. Everything was not the same. And your life? It's okay to be sad, though. I stretched my arms over my head. Sleeping in a tent was a first for me. The cold ground wasn't much different than the thin bedrolls I had slept in when I was younger, but the sound of the strong wind and bugs roaming about would take some getting used to. Okay then. Loretta used to tell me not to go to bed angry at people, but that was an ideal I simply couldn't follow no matter how hard I tried to. How could one simply drop their feelings of animosity towards people and situations and find inner peace? What? It was something I always struggled with. While I wasn't allowed to act on my feelings of rage, I was allowed to have them. Okay. Why deny myself something that reminded me of why I fought so hard my whole life? Before I had gone to bed last night, I promised myself that I would try to keep living. There were a few people who would want that for me. Loretta, Balder, Miss Parisi, but I will do it for them. I would live for myself. That's nice. I jumped when I felt a hand on my shoulder. I had been away from the makeshift camp too long, apparently. I turned around to see Maddox's smiling face. She was a welcome sight because I don't think I could have dealt with Kieran this early.
Callista,
Yep.
there's a lake over there. Come with me.
Okay, I agree with that statement before. Callista, a lake, interesting. She had a small cloth in her hands and a bashful smile. I tilted my head curiously, but Maddox made no move to explain to me what was going on. For all I know, she could have been leading me to the lake to push me and watch me drown. What? Come on, relax. T.I. glanced over at Kieran, who seemed to be stoking a fire not too far away. I was not ready to face... that's a mistyping. I was not ready to face his discontent for me just yet. Alright then. I followed after Maddox. My unwillingness to drag my feet anywhere outweighed my curiosity and growing boredom this early in the morning. Usually I was doing something, anything. Cleaning floors, sewing out clothes, preparing breakfast for more important staff that resided in the castle. Not having a task to do was kind of nice, but also very strange. What did one do with all this free time out in the forest? Gaming? I don't know, like that? Go to the lake, apparently. Maddox sent me a look over her shoulder, giving me a thumbs up of encouragement. She was the nicer of the two shadows, no doubt, but I didn't know enough about her to confidently say that I trusted her. Still, I followed her anyway. Okay then. Uh-huh. The lake nearby was absolutely stunning. Oh, it is. I love the background art. The water sparkled like a beautiful azure jewel. The plants that decorated the shoreline were dazzling adornments that I couldn't look away from. Really, I was captivated beyond measure. I had never seen such a marvel of nature in person. Books simply couldn't do something like this justice. I rushed forward, ignoring Maddox's look of bewilderment. I dropped to my knees and dipped my hands inside of the cold water. Maddox shuffled behind me, but I paid no mind. The lake was incredible. I had to fight the urge to jump right in. Wet clothes on a journey like this would be no fun. Though one day I have to try simply swimming for the fun of it without having to worry about specific time constraint like when I live in the castle. Water splashed against my face, sending me recoiling a few feet backwards. Maddox poked her head up from the rippling water, her shoulders bare.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Man, what are you doing, ma'am? She was definitely naked in the lake, without a care in the world. I covered my face that grew hot at the thought of someone I had barely known stripping down right in front of me.
Relax, kid. I'm washing up. Really need a good soak.
Relax, kid. I'm washing up. I really need a good soak. Okay then. A good soak. So she was bathing in the lake. Right here in the open. What the heck? I couldn't help but scrunch my nose up in disgust. What? Where was the privacy? Anyone could catch a glimpse of her bare body if she wasn't careful enough to cover up in time. I mean, yeah, that is true, but on the other hand, like, where will you find a bathroom here?
Ew.
Ew, okay, ew.
See, there's the stuck-up noble I was looking for. You too good for bathing in a lake?
Yeah, no, this is just some common decency. I guess I wasn't above bathing in a lake. I just didn't really think I'd be ever in a position where I need to cash in my nameless stages and be at the bottom of the food chain with no place to call home. But here we are. Maddox beckoned to me, swimming closer.
No, I'm good. I'm clean. I just came from the castle, remember?
Press X to doubt.
Suit yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But while we're traveling, there isn't going to be any fancy baths or inns. It's all outside. Even the bathroom.
See, I told you.
No!
No! Not the bathroom! I didn't want to think of that horror. Oh god, the horror.
I can't use the bathroom out in the open like that. Why did you bring that up now? I have to pee.
Why did you bring that? Now I'm feeling awkward.
So go in the bushes. You'll be fine. Oh, just don't squat too low. Some things are poisonous. Trust me. Not a pretty feeling.
Just make sure the area is clean. It isn't that hard to avoid poisonous things. Right? Hearing her talk about the bathroom and seeing all this water, I just couldn't hold it anymore.
Okay, fine. But don't look! Cover your eyes.
Okay, ma'am. Of course, this was going to be a fun time adjusting to life away from secure walls and private washrooms.
I hate this trip already.
Hooray.
Better than being murdered, right?
Yeah, better than being murdered, right?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever, okay. After I finished my business, I rinsed my hand in the lake and sat down on the nearest rock. Maddox was all done washing up and she was fully clothed once again. She sat calmly by the lake looking into it. I couldn't help but wonder what was going through her mind as she gazed into the gorgeous blue ripples of water. I knew next to nothing about the girl and her companion. I didn't know if it was worth getting to know more about them either. It was probably a lost cause considering it'd be out of their hair at the next town. We stopped in. That was my plan anyway. Couldn't let them steer me to Terra Captivatis. There was no place for me in the land of unwanted people. Though I fit that criteria almost perfectly, I could not commit to the identity of an enemy of Vestis. I had spent my whole life there. I had once considered it my home. I could not stay any longer, but I could not forget either.
Oh, hey, there's something you should know about Kieran.
That hole in the bum? Sure. What is it? She turned to face me, a small frown on her face. She picked at the grass absent-mindedly, which made my stomach churn with all of the possibilities of what she could say. Ah, yes. Touching grass. Go outside and touch the grass. The two of them seemed very close. Kieran, at the very least, respected her words enough to stop when she told him to.
He doesn't like royalty too much.
Okay,
He really hates people in high places of power. Don't ask him about it.
okay. Yeah, I kind of understood that much already. Yep, typical edgy teenagers, Kieran. He played the part of the perfect mercenary in front of Baldur's face, but when we left the castle, Kieran was all too eager to bash the man's intentions. Though I know it wasn't my business to ask, and I know better than to get attached. I couldn't stray far away from the idea.
Did something happen?
Mm-hmm.
Not my story to tell, kid.
Okay, you're right. Fair enough. Couldn't expect her to divulge her friend's secrets, and I didn't think Kieran and I would ever be close enough for him to tell me himself. It was inconsequential, and I would simply drop it all together. Maddox swung her arms outward and used her calf to push herself upward from her seated position. I was glad to be making a run for it as soon as I could. Living in the wild XM nomad wasn't something I want to get used to. Okay. Upon entering the cave again, Kieran was seated on the ground with an apple core in his hand. Freak, I skip it. Sorry. Where you got an apple, Kieran, though? He tossed it behind him and dusted his hands on his pants. We caught eyes for a moment, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he stood up and walked towards the area we had just returned from. Maddox shrugged simply and walked off in the opposite direction, leaving me alone by the fire that had just been put out. I sat for a moment, drumming my fingers along my thighs. Neither Maddox nor Kieran were really paying attention to me as I sat by myself. They probably thought I was going to follow them without question. I would, but not for as long as they had hoped. I turned my attention to the tents. Did Kieran and Maddox have any money in their possession? If not, maybe they had something I could sell. If I was going to start a new life, I needed money. I hadn't even left the castle with another pair of clothes, and food in the great outdoors wasn't as yummy as it sounded. It isn't. I looked around for any signs of Kieran nearby, but I didn't hear him. He was probably washing up as well. That left me a few minutes opening until Maddox came back from whatever it was that she was doing. Carefully, I walked over to Kieran's stand and began to pull his small satchel out of it. Guilt pulsed through me as I held the unopened pouch in my hands. Yes, there you go. With an angry scythe, I tossed it back to the tent where I had found it. I wasn't a thief, even in time like this. I didn't really know Kieran's situation. I reached up and let my finger trace the ridge of the ruby in the center of my amulet. Someone had tried to take this from me. Mystical power aside, this necklace was all I had connecting me to my origin. I didn't know much about where I came from, but I still felt a closeness to my family, my biological one, when I wore the amulet. I would never want to part with it. What if I ended up taking something that had sentimental value to either Kieran or Maddox? It just wasn't right. I wasn't in the business of stealing and selling memories for profit, even if I was desperate. Now that's a good spirit.
So, you're a good girl then.
Sure, I am. You didn't see anything, right? Right? Oh god. Okay, we have to end this person. Do you have a knife? Kieran's voice behind me made me jump. I was glad he couldn't see my face, but I was sure my movement told him all he needed to know about how frightened I was. I didn't think he'd be back from his trip to the lake so soon. I wouldn't let him think that I was doing anything wrong. I put the dang satchel back. Spinning around to face him, I gave him the nicest smile I could muster despite the sarcastic word that spilled from my mouth.
That's so sweet of you to say.
So sweet of you to say. Callista, come on. He already sees us. We need to finish him right now. I have a sword right here. I could just stab and end it. He tapped his left foot impatiently as if he was dealing with a small child who wasn't following their parents' instructions.
If you need something, you just have to ask. You don't have to go through our stuff.
Okay.
If it's money you need, I have a small pouch of silver that I keep in my pillowcase.
Well, I think that's all we need to know. Bye-bye, Kiran. Stop. Let's go take the money.
Can you just stop?
What? Being nice to you?
No, I doubt that is being nice.
Don't treat me like your friend all of a sudden.
Uh-huh. What was his end goal offering me things like money when just last night he was insulting me? I knew he caught me red-handed digging through his stuff, so why? It was pity, wasn't it? I didn't need his sympathy. I didn't need him to feel bad for the poor innocent servant girl who was kicked out of her home and had her livelihood taken away.
I'm aware that we're not friends.
Uh-huh.
I was just telling you it'd be easier to just ask for what you want.
Okay.
Give you anything you need. It makes it easier for both of us.
Alright, cool.
Thanks.
Thanks. Karen rolled his eyes at me and then chuckled.
Whatever you say, princess.
Whatever you say, Hornbum. My fingers curled into a fist. He laughed right in my face. Kieran wanted to feel my wrath, didn't he? That masochist. What?
Stop calling me that.
Uh-huh.
Princesses live in big castles with their princes. They get to wear pretty dresses and have curls in their hair.
Okay.
I had to hike God knows how far up a hill in the clothing that I sleep in.
Uh-huh. Okay, Calista, enough. Show us your wrath.
Seems like a pretty rigid definition
Uh-huh.
of a princess. Did Baldur tell you that?
Nah, society. Karen took a step closer to me and then another one. Karen's word hit a sore spot as I realized my definition of a princess wasn't determined by Baldur himself but the tradition his family stood for. To be a princess in Vestis, you had to have a royal blood in your veins and a sparkly last name to match it. Yes, I said society. I let out a small involuntary sigh. There was no use revisiting the same old tired traditional ideals over and over again. Clearly, Baldur wasn't going to be the one to change an old belief system. That must have made Kieran feel some kind of superiority that he already knew the simple truth that I ignored for so long. I turned my back on the man because I couldn't bear to see the satisfied smirk that was no doubt playing on his lip at this moment.
Ready to head out?
Ready! Maddox had bounded in at exactly the correct moment. I turned back around to tried my best to smile up at her, though my insides were torn apart. Yeah, that's the smile. Okay, I guess I have to end the video right here since it's been around 30 minutes for me. So I guess that's all for Secrets Untold episode 3. Now this is interesting. We are getting some chemistry between us, Maddox and Kieran. Looking forward for the next episode. See you later then in the next episode then. Bye bye.